Today I'm starting work on an end grain butcher block for a countertop. This is going on an island where there's a range in the center and a countertop on three sides, and I'm going to be making an end grain butcher block for that countertop. I've got my stock here, which is hard maple and padauk, cut to 3-foot lengths, which is the long grain glueup. I'm not going to go over the details of how to construct an end grain butcher block. I highly recommend Mark Spagnolo's The Wood Whisperer's video on how to create a great end grain butcher block. What I'm going to talk about is just the process here for doing this island and kind of go over all those steps. But before I can get started on this, I had to go through a lot of design to design the pattern and the sizing of this countertop. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. First, I have the dimensions for the island countertop. A range slides into the opening. The process of making an end grain butcher block means the same components reused in different orientations, flipped end to end, etc. So I used SketchUp to make those components and laid them out over the countertop dimensions. I then broke up those components into individually sized end grain pieces of wood, chosen at random. I made sure that the cut lines didn't match up to create any seams. Finally, I shaded some blocks red to play with the overall look. Since I had used components in SketchUp, with just a few clicks, I could easily try out different patterns. I then used SketchUp components to print out the pieces' dimensions to help build in the shop. Now that I have the design done, I can start construction. The basic steps are to take these 3-foot chunks and rip them into sticks that have various widths and lengths, and then glue those together. So here's a couple of sticks, and then just glue those together this way, and glue a series of them to make the long grain glueup. Then take that and cut off this way into a whole bunch of chunks, and you end up with something like this. All the glueup, and then cut them off, and you got a chunk like this. And then you take these, lay them flat, and glue them up, and you end up with a board like this. This is not the pattern for the island, but this was a test to go through those steps here in the shop and figure out any of the details that I was missing or whatever. So I went through the process, did this. The pattern for the island is a little bit different, and of course we'll end up with much longer sections for wrapping around the island than just this small cutting board. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on cutting down the maple, a little bit of padauk in the pattern, and start gluing those sections together. The first step is to do sub-glue ups for some of the internal parts that make up the long grain butcher block. So some of the pieces along the length, the height of my long grain glueup is 2.5 inches. So some of the pieces are a full 2.5 inches, like this one. Simply goes up and down 2.5 inches and is the full, is this wide. So you have more pieces here, more pieces here. So that's just straightforward, make that cut. Other ones are glue ups that make up the 2.5 inches. So here's a glue up where there's two different pieces here, smaller piece and a larger piece, 2.5 inches high, more pieces here, more pieces here. So I had to glue these up, first, and then I'll flatten these two sides, flatten and parallel these two sides for getting ready for a long grain glue up. Some of the other ones are even more complicated. Here's two pieces that go internal to some other pieces. So there'll be more pieces here and here to get 2.5 inches high and a little bit wider too. So glue these up, flatten these two sides for more glue ups in both directions. So multiple glue ups before I can even do the full long grain glue up. So that's what I'm working on right now, is getting all these internal glue ups. To do that, I love these bow clamps. Here's two pieces in a bow clamp, two bow clamps, which is great. Cinch it down at both ends with just a single clamp, gives nice pressure all the way along. When I actually do this, I start a clamp here and here, cinch those down first, then throw these clamps on the outside and cinch those the rest of the way, and then you can take off these two preliminary clamps. So I'm going through, gluing these up, flattening the sides. We'll build up all the internal parts first, and then do one big glue up for the long grain butcher block.